morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn. He is Griffin. Sometimes you have plans for a day and then something occurs and you're like, all right, well, maybe we can rip up some of the plans. They really gave Deion Sanders SI Sportsperson of the Year. It is a top 10 funniest thing that's happened all year. I mean,
turn that program
maybe
around.
Top, yeah, sure did. Sure turned
They
it
won
around.
one game last year.
Yeah. So embarrassing. And, like, it's more embarrassing because it's on the heels of what we also learned about SI this week and, like, how embarrassing SI has become. This honor has meant something. Frankly, maybe it's them calling me to let me know.
Hey, stop it.
You were runner-up. We, of course, by the way, this is the print issue of PressBox, which is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms and the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. A lot of college basketball, reflection on the Orioles turnaround, Brooks Robinson, the whole thing, right? All in that print issue of PressBox. We, of course, molded the Mo Gaba Sportsperson of the Year that we'll be celebrating in the best of issue that comes out next month, after the significance of SI Sportsperson of the Year, which for eternity has been viewed as being meaningful, as mattering. But SI, even as SI has crumbled in the last decade and a half.
They're going to say 48 hours.
No, it's been a very bad 48 hours, but this thing started crumbling like when they did what everybody else in media has done, stopped hiring writers and journalists and just asked some kid who was a fan of a team, hey, write clickbait stuff about your favorite team, which started years ago. Even as they shifted to that, there were still a few things about SI that were their saving grace, right? The MMQB portal for a little while, after Peter King started that, was still a saving grace. It was still, in a way, must read. And as Peter King left and Albert Breer took it over, at least it still had some name value. There were still some, Grant Wall was still there doing legitimate soccer journalism. John Wertheim doing legitimate tennis journalism. There was still some legitimacy from time to time. Jack McCallum for a long time was still doing legitimate NBA journalism. There was still legitimate, and you can debate, how legitimate Peter King's journalism was, because I get it. Everybody likes to point out that he's a bit too friendly with Roger Goodell. He's a bit too friendly with the NFL. But he was certainly sourced. There was no question about that. He certainly had legitimate information, even if his relationships were probably a little bit too awkward. Even as it started to crumble, you could still find a few things that were relevant about SI, and you appreciated that. Like, you don't want institutions to fall in this country. I know we root for that sometimes, but that's because some of us are anarchists and chaos agents. I never rooted for our institutions to fall, and SI was an institution here. I don't like what ESPN has become, but I appreciate that there are still many things, even for as awful and embarrassing as much of their programming is during the day, there are still things that are legitimate about ESPN. Their coverage of events, the actual sports, while their NBA coverage is embarrassing. I mean, mostly just because you have to stand it next to TNT's coverage, and you're just like, God, do you even basketball, bro? Like, do you even do that? But they do think the coverage of certain sports is very legitimate. They hired Joe Buck and Troy Aikman to do Monday Night Football. That's very legitimate. I don't necessarily want institutions to fall, and I have not wanted SI to fall. But boy, has it been just an ungodly fall. And particularly in the aftermath of the news that they have been using AI writers. And I know that they pointed out it's very unique. It was only for product reviews, which in a way is embarrassing. Like, you're SI. You're really dipping your... Like, that is as low rent as it gets, even if it was humans doing it. Product reviews? For those that don't know, all product reviews is a company pays you to create content about them. For example, there's a company that released a Zay Flowers bobblehead that asked if I wanted to partner up. I said, I have no problem plugging it. They're like, well, we'd like on PressBoxOnline.com there to be a review of the No. There's no value to that. I will talk about it in exchange for, I wanted to do it as a giveaway for the raffle, right? I thought that'd be cool. I'll talk about it. I'll plug it. I'll say where it's available. But to do a review?
It's a sturdy bobblehead.
Yeah.
The head bobbles.
As bobbleheads go, this is one of them. Could you imagine? It's as low rent as content gets. So it was low rent enough that that's what SI was doing. Obviously far more embarrassing that their new parent company, dude bro capital adventure capital group, this is the Arena Group, sure, whatever that is, that they traipsed into the AI world in order to accomplish it. They couldn't even do their low rent content on their own. I say all of that to say I don't really need to spend 20 minutes talking about how embarrassing it is that Deion Sanders is the SI Sportsperson of the Year. I can actually I think the selection actually shows you exactly how far SI has fallen. I don't know this, but here's what I'm betting. I'm betting that in early October, they got together for a meeting. I know this because we, of course, have meetings here about Mo Gaba Sportsperson of the Year. That in early October, they got together for a meeting. And they said, who do we think it's going to be? And at the time, the momentum of Deion Sanders was so significant that they talked themselves into, this would be cool. And this is where the embarrassing fall has come for SI. It feels as though the most likely scenario was, in order to get buy-in from Deion Sanders, they had to commit then and there that he was going to be on the cover, that he was going to be the guy that was celebrated. That they didn't have the ability to say, hey, we want to talk to you and we want to do a story, but we can't promise you right now that you're going to be the selection. And that because SI has fallen so far, Deion Sanders essentially said, well, if you don't, I'm not doing this. Or, and this is the other element, that I know these from having these conversations, the other element is they were afraid that if they waited any longer to make a decision, they weren't going to get the buy-in. That if they waited until November, mid-November, to make a decision, that at that point, Deion Sanders might say, yep, sorry, too late. Or whoever it was. Which, again, is a reflection of how far SI has fallen. Because if you weren't confident that you couldn't wait until mid-November to make a decision and have whoever your choice is choose to be a part of the story that you were doing, then what you're really saying is, we're not relevant. We don't matter. This honor is not significant. No one cares about it. And that's a statement about how far it's fallen. I mean, Mike Loxley say no? Did all the coaches who actually won games this year choose not to participate? What's more embarrassing about this is that this would have been a good story when Deion Sanders was at Jackson State. That's the embarrassing part. The embarrassing part is I don't even, I'd have to think about who have won in the last couple of years to know how to compare it. Do you have a list of the, pull up the list of sports person of the year. I want to say that, oh God, I don't remember. I feel bad about that. I genuinely don't remember. I know the Warriors won as a team one year. The pandemic year was a goofy one. Like, they just picked a random group of people and kind of all it was just a very bizarre one.
According to, let me see.
Oh, it was Steph Curry last year.
Yeah, Steph
Curry. Steph Curry last year and Tom Brady the year before.
Yeah, you're right. 2020 they did like 5 people.
It couldn't have been more random. It was just about as random as
it was. Just the greatest player of you. It was Brianna Stewart, Naomi Osaka, LeBron. Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
Yeah, they picked the Warriors in 2018 after they won their third title.
Look, I'm not here to I'm not here to debate.
Megan Rapinoe the year in 2019.
But it smells like there were plenty of candidates that were out there that would have been very good. I don't know if you've heard of Nikola Jokic. She had a pretty significant year. I get it. Not sexy social media-wise. Not sure if you've heard of Shohei Ohtani, who's never been SI Sports Person of the Year, despite the fact that he is the most significant revelation that's happened to baseball in the history of the game. Seems like maybe he would have made a pretty decent choice. The Kelsey brothers? You heard of them?
What if they give it to Taylor Swift?
I get that you would sort of be playing off of that. Like, you would sort of be playing into it. But, you know, they also have, like, the most popular podcast in the world. And, by the way, at the moment, straight shoot, the #1 single in the country. They're at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 with their take on Fairy Tale of New York. Did I see the singer from the Pogues died this month? That's terrible.
Really?
Shane McGowan, man. That's awful. And it's not Fairy Tale of New York. It's their play on Fairy Tale of New York. What is it? Fairy Tale of Philadelphia. It's been a pretty significant year for the Kelsey brothers. They played against each other in the Super Bowl. I know nobody talked about it.
They should have picked Donna Kelsey.
I know no one brought it up. It didn't get any attention this year, but they played against each other in the Super Bowl. Breaking news from your boy Glenn Clark. Seems like maybe that could have been worthy. I don't know. Silly old me. Coco Gauff's rise to winning the U.S. Open might have been a really good story to put on the cover if you were desperate for something. I'm trying to think of how deep on the list you would have to get to think that the Deion Sanders thing was legitimate. I am struggling to come up with where there would be legitimacy for Deion Sanders. I get it. In late September, early October, it felt like it might be a legitimate story. You somehow have to be willing to ignore everything that happened after that to think that it's legitimate. There is no proof that this will work with Deion Sanders. Might it? Maybe. I can't say that. It might work. But the evidence we now have is they were a very bad football team. And the thing we got worked up about, as it turns out, wasn't significant at all. He's done nothing. What he did at Jackson State was actually legitimate. And if a year ago they had chosen to do a story about Deion Sanders and what he'd done at Jackson State, that would have been a meaningful story. That would have been a meaningful Sports Person of the Year type of thing. Look at what this guy has done at an HBCU, getting legitimate Division I, top-level, future NFL players to come choose to play at an HBCU. That would have been an amazing story. Would it have been more deserving than Steph Curry? I don't think so. It's kind of weird that Steph Curry had never been Sports Person of the Year before, right?
Right. I mean, I guess it's like, how do you measure the entire Golden State team? But
yeah, I mean, I probably would. I guess that was their way of saying we don't want to make it Kevin Durant, so we're just going to make it the whole team. But by the way, that was a struggle that we had this year. Truth be told, I'll tell you guys that immediately. We struggled with that this year. There were opinions that perhaps we just make Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year the entire team of the Baltimore Orioles. I don't like that. That comes off very cop-out-ish to me. I will tell you, that's not ultimately what we did, although we are going to recognize the entire team. It just comes off like, we can't do this. We couldn't do the homework, so we kind of cheated. There would have been legitimacy to Deion Sanders being a Sports Person of the Year. And maybe in the coming years, there will be legitimacy to Deion Sanders being a Sports Person of the Year, right? Like, maybe he will prove that the hype was worth it. But he hasn't. There's no story here. There's nothing that I want to read about Deion Sanders as Sports Person of the Year. Because he uses social media? He ain't the only one. Why don't we just go ahead and let Jake Paul be Sports Person of the Year?
he will be soon.
No, he will not. Although, again, I say that, given how much they're ready to debase themselves, maybe he will. Like, this is a oofy oof moment. This is I can't believe that people in a room this week after that were like, we're still gonna do this. There's still time. Like, we could just change our mind. There's an embarrassing low. I mean, a really embarrassing low. And that's a very difficult thing to do for SI in 2023. Ivan, I thought this was the Onion at first. Yeah. I mean, I just, oof doesn't even begin to explain it. Like, it's beyond parody. You can't even talk about it. There's absolutely nothing legitimate about it whatsoever. And they just ran with it. Like, at no point did they say, hey, guys, we kind of got this one wrong. Like, might have screwed up here. Somebody just said, do it anyway. Well, right, but he didn't do anything. Yeah, who cares? And we're not even, the other embarrassing part is, this doesn't even, like, get play on, everybody's over it. We're all over it. No one was watching Colorado football at the end of the year. No one could tell you who they were playing or what network is it on. No one was watching. So you can't even get social media traction out of it other than to get dunked on.
Well, it's probably Pac-12 network.
Probably. Notre Dame was on the Pac-12 network the final week of the year. That was felt sort of like a middle finger, like someone involved with the Pac-12 network because they're like angry about the fact the network's I assume the network's going down. Like, what are they doing with that?
Well, they're just going to be the exclusive network
of
of
Oregon State and Washington.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird that we're this deep in this, and we still have no idea what they're doing, which makes me wonder if they're just sort of waiting until, in order to try to look like they're the adults in the room, they wait until the season's over and then announce that they're going to form some union with the Mountain West and whatever that looks like. But, you know, I don't know that you can justify a TV network for whatever that will be, the Mountain Pack, whatever you want to call it. I mean, how can it be? They have two teams from the Pac-12. I don't know what that will be. But my God, there's just nothing here. It is the most thunderous thud you could ever possibly imagine. It would be like the Grammys giving Album of the Year to William Hung. You don't even get that reference, do you? That's sad. William Hung was a phenomenon, man. He was a guy that went on, like, tried out for American Idol when American Idol was at the throes of his success, and he very clearly could not sing. But his enthusiasm was very real, and so America just loved him, despite the fact that he couldn't sing. And so we allowed him to be a celebrity for a little while. Like,
so you're saying you would deserve it? Yeah.
No. We gave him, like, he was incapable of singing. It would be, it's hard to, there is a famous video of him attempting to sing She Bangs by Ricky Martin. And maybe you should pull it up.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know what no, like on, so that you could share it. Okay. Just give up. I give up. We try to do a show.
The one next to me.
That no one can see that, Griffin.
What's his name, William?
Oh, I give up. We tried. We got things. We got real content to do. I got 4 spots left in our raffle pool. Let's fill them up right now. Come on, let's go. 4 spots. 4 spots. Nope. Sorry. 3. Mario Lanasa just got in. 3 spots remaining in our raffle. We are giving away the autograph helmet signed by Adafe Owe, Patrick Ricard, Tyus Bowser, Justin Matabike, Brandon Stevens, and more. We are giving away 4 rounds of free golf at Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses. We're giving away a pair of tickets to the Jingle Y'all show with Scotty McCreery, also of American Idol fame, and Walker Hayes at Rams Head Live. Thank you to Rams Head Live. We're giving away $75 worth of Glory Days Grill gift cards. Did you steal one of those?
No, I didn't.
I think it was 75 the whole time. When I grabbed it, it felt like 4.
Giving away 3/4 of 100.
Yeah, right. 3/4 of $100 in Glory Days Grill gift cards. We are giving away the opportunity for you and a guest to join me at the Rollin' with Santa bowling party presented by West Banco that's being thrown by Grade 8's Memorabilia with special guests Keaton Mitchell and Brandon Stevens. So many awesome prizes. And a lot of people have already told me they don't even want to win the prizes. So I'd say it's a 1 in 100 shot, but it's actually not even a 1 in 100 because it's probably more like 1 in 70 or something like that. Because there are certain numbers that if we pull, I already know they're going to tell me, hey, go ahead and give it to somebody else. 3 spots left. 3 trace for us to have raised $2,500 so that Drew and I can go purchase toiletries and underwear for the folks at Helping Up Mission, the men and the women there. So please, just hit me up in the next 20 minutes. Let's go ahead and pull a winner today, right? What do you say? At Glenn-Clark on Venmo, Glenn Clark 180 on PayPal, Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App. I had someone who wanted to send via Apple yesterday, and we figured out they could send the money to my wife, and we got that taken care of, and somehow we're going to make that work. Our friend Leah here had to pay with cash. If you want to just swing by, that's great. And then we're going to announce the next step, because we're not going to be done. We'll have a next step that'll follow up. But let's close this today. If you're in our circle, and basically everyone in our circle has gotten in, but if you're in our circle and you haven't gotten in yet, get in today. Close this for us. We're going to take care of the folks who need it this holiday season at the Helping Up Mission. Again, Glenn-Clark on Venmo, Glenn Clark 180 on PayPal, Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App. Get in for our raffle benefiting the Helping Up Mission. Thank you. We appreciate it. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Always appreciate an opportunity to catch up with our next guest. He, of course, covers the NFL, NFL.com. And he dove in this week to the race for the number 1 seed in the AFC. At the moment, the Ravens hold it, but with the bye this weekend, they're not so likely to be holding it by the time we get to Tuesday. He is our friend, Jeff Chadiha, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Jeff, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
Same here, man. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Jeff, I'm in a weird place, right, where you have to feel good about where the Ravens are, but the disappointment of a couple of these losses really feels like there's a chance for it to come back and sting them, specifically in the race for the number 1 seed, just because they were all conference losses and they really hurt tiebreaker-wise. Yet you seem pretty confident about their ability, despite how difficult their schedule is down the stretch.
Yeah, you get into this point in the season, and I know everybody likes to look at the schedule and say, well, this team's got an easier road than this team does. And in reality, all these teams, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, these teams that all have 3 losses are in a similar situation in that they have to win games that are tough. People talk about the Chiefs and what they have to go through, and they have to see the Bills in a couple of weeks and the Packers this week. I know the Ravens have a tough road here, but if you want to be the top seed, you got to win tough games. And so for me, they're the most complete team in the league. They have the 6th best scoring offense, the 2nd best scoring defense. And I think they understand the gravity of the moment and that having a first-round bye in this type of postseason situation will be huge. So I think they're game for the challenge.
I think the one thing that's interesting to me, Jeff, is that this is a different year. And I think you and I talked about this a few weeks ago. That this is defense and running the ball matter. I was doing the radio show last night. I had somebody message and say, hey, well, the one thing we don't know is if they can win a shootout. And I was like, well, how many shootouts are we even seeing, right? Like, we saw that Buffalo-Philadelphia turned into a bit of a shootout, but for the most part, this has not been a shootout season. It's starting to feel like a year where, again, it matters that you can play defense and you can run the ball and you can do it on the road. And I do think that part of this is a much louder conversation at this point.
Yeah, and it's been that way all season long, and you're just starting to see the reality of it because, as you mentioned, look at Kansas City again. They've got offensive issues. Look at Buffalo. They've got turnover problems. Look at Cincinnati. No Joe Burrow anymore. Look at Cleveland. No Deshaun Watson. So you start going down the list of teams that could potentially be a threat to you, and you start looking at what they can do offensively. Yeah, you've got explosive teams like Miami in there, and the Jaguars can do some things offensively. But for the most part, there's nobody that you fear. And I think the knock on the Ravens for a long time has been what happens when they're behind. Not just when they shoot up, what happens if they have to chase points. And that's not the case this year. They really have to just manage their own issues, which is blowing leads and not playing great in the fourth quarter of some games. But for my money, when you look at the teams that have had the most dominant performances in the AFC this year, they've got two of them against Detroit and Seattle. So that, to me, bodes well for them in the postseason.
He is Jeff Chadiha, NFL Network, NFL.com. He is with us here on GCR. Jeff, as you mentioned, the loss of Mark Andrews, it was an uneven performance that we saw from the Ravens offensively against the Chargers. And I guess that's the question. Do you think that's one game and them adjusting to life without Mark Andrews, or do you worry that that might be the type of thing that continues? You can't lose Mark Andrews and not have it seriously affect your offense moving forward.
Yeah, that's right. And look, there's going to be moments like that moving forward because he's been Lamar Jackson's security blanket. He's been probably the most foundational player in that offense outside of Lamar Jackson over the last 4 or 5 years. And so it is a big loss. But what I'm encouraged by when I watch them play is that they're able to get over that. And they're able to lean on Zay Flowers. They're able to find other runners to keep that running game going. You know, Odell Beckham Jr. is a player who's played in big games, so he's going to matter more at this time of year. He's going to have more value at this time of year. And so I think all those things really factor into this because going back to the point you made earlier, this is the kind of postseason and into the regular season that it's going to be more about how well coached you are. It's going to be about how well your quarterback plays, and it's going to be how well your defense plays. You're going to have to find different ways to win games. It's not always going to be pretty.
I am Jeff. It's funny. It's funny you bring that up, right? Because also on Sunday,
I feel like I'm trying to sell you.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to sell me. But also on Sunday night, we saw some coaching issues, right? Like we saw some challenges that weren't made that were very confusing.
Yeah.
We've seen some things this year, like in the Indianapolis game, where no one told Zay Flowers to call for a fair catch, and maybe even on Sunday night where no one told Zay Flowers, hey, you should probably go down at the 2-yard line, not let them have the ball back, just let the game be over at that point. I'm in this weird place because I have great reverence for John Harbaugh and how players seem to respond for him. And I've kind of made I don't like invoking this name because it turns out he's a garbage person, but like I make the comparison sometimes to Brett Favre, where like as a football player, not as a person because he's a garbage person, but as a football player, you knew he was going to throw a ton of interceptions, and yet you would just live with that. You would say, hey, that's the wart that I'm going to live with in order to get the talent of Brett Favre. And I have made this sort of like peace with John Harbaugh where there's going to be perplexing, puzzling things that you're going to deal with where they challenge a play that they have no chance of getting overturned, and the one where Nelson Aguilar is 1.5 yards beyond the first down marker, and they're not going to – it's infuriating, but I deal with that because I think he brings this sort of vibe that just works with this group of players. The atmosphere, the culture, the whatever it is significant enough that it overcomes those things. But when you say, you're going to need top-notch coaching, do you wonder at all if that's what they're going to get from John Harbaugh because of all of these kind of bizarre in-game circumstances that we continue to see?
Yeah, it's funny because I live in Kansas City, and I remember I wasn't here when Dick Vermeil was coaching the Chiefs, but there used to be a story that they would tell about him in press conference when he'd be having to justify a decision. He'd always take his Super Bowl ring from the Rams and just tap it against the podium to kind of say, well, I got one of these. So if you think I can't get it done, like, remember, I'm still wearing one of these. And that's how I feel about Jim Harbaugh. But, your point is well made. But, again, I see issues in Kansas City that are similar. I mean, they're trying to, rely on a receiving core that continues to drop passes, and they can't seem to find a way to make it work. And they're committed to some players who aren't getting it done. And so I hear what you're saying. But I look around the NFL and I say the teams that are winning consistently or are in a good position or are having winning streaks right now, most of them have coaches who've either won championships or played in Super Bowls. And that's Philadelphia, that's Dallas. The Rams are getting better now. The Broncos are getting better. Obviously, the Chiefs have been doing it for a long time. I think that really does make a difference. Mike Tomlin is a perfect example of this in Pittsburgh. Of like that team has got nowhere near the offensive talent that the Ravens have, and somehow they're sitting there 7-4. So I think it's going to, even though what you've seen has been legit, I do feel like when we get into these bigger games, especially games that you have to win to get that bye or to make a postseason run, I think John Harbaugh is in that category of somebody who can get it done.
Look, I don't ever want anybody to think that I am denigrating John Harbaugh. I'm not. I have great reverence for John Harbaugh, and he's a Hall of Fame caliber football coach. Just, it is very weird when some of these types of things occur, and we're all looking and saying, "Hey, you're gonna challenge that, right?" Right? Very weird. Very weird. Jeff, can I ask where you are with the MVP discussion? Because it is genuinely fascinating to me in a year where there aren't like obvious. And I know that we've sort of made MVP just who's the quarterback of the team that finishes the best record. So it feels like Jalen Hurts will just default unless the Eagles fall off at this point. But I have been screamed for a number of years. The year that Stephon Diggs showed up in Buffalo, and they had a terrible offense the year before, and then all of a sudden had like the best offense in football, and the only thing that changed was the presence of Stephon Diggs. I said then, like, hey, why are we not allowed to talk about whether or not Stephon Diggs might be the most valuable player in football? Like, why is that beyond the pale to discuss the possibility that someone who isn't a quarterback might be the most valuable player? And I don't know that there's a single answer. A lot of people would bring up Tyreek Hill. You bring up Pittsburgh. I don't know how we wouldn't talk about T.J. Watt. I think it's warranted to talk about Christian McCaffrey as much as Brock Purdy in San Francisco. Are you at all willing to think about the possibility that the actual most valuable player in football this year isn't a quarterback?
Oh, I definitely think that this is the kind of year where you should be having that conversation. And in reality, you're right. One is that it has become a quarterback award, and two, it's become an award that I laugh sometimes because I look at players like Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy, and somehow they're disqualified because of their history or because of what's around them. And it does, you're right, guys like Jalen Hurts get a little more love because of, one, he almost won it last year, and two, he's playing on a team that's got the best record. But I look around the league, and every week I'm like, yeah, A.J. Brown's had a case. Tyreek Hill certainly had a great case. Myles Garrett has had a case for, especially what's happened in Cleveland with all those backup quarterbacks playing there. And this is going to be a weird year because I think it's weird, one, because the biggest name guys aren't having the best years. And I include Jalen Hurts in that because until the last couple of games, he hadn't really stood out, but he's had a couple of big wins. I think Lamar Jackson has a case, but the numbers aren't spectacular. But I imagine if you asked me to pick the top three right now, I would say I think it's Dak, Purdy, and Jalen Hurts. And I think all three of those guys are going to play against each other. They're going to have big games, and so they'll eliminate each other. But it wouldn't surprise me if someone like Josh Allen or Lamar got up in there based on what they have to go through over the next 5 weeks.
Okay.
If the Bills make a run and win 5 straight games, Josh Allen is going to be a big part of that. If the Ravens end up getting the top seed, Lamar Jackson is going to be a big part of that. They're playing in big games. And so I think for me, it's almost like the Heisman now, where you have to have these moments that justify you this year as opposed to the 40 touchdowns, 5 interceptions season.
I think it's interesting, right? Like my buddy Clark Judge he was trying to argue to me yesterday that Lamar Jackson was MVP, and I'm like, far be it for me to argue because we worship at the altar of Lamar Jackson in this city. But I'm like, yeah, he's had a really good year,
but 15 touchdowns.
But yeah, is he MVP? Like I think he's been really important, and I am very appreciative of the fact that the Ravens got the deal done, and Lamar Jackson's the quarterback here. But like, is he the MVP of the league? What a world we're living in.
And he's also hurt because of he's already won it and had a phenomenal season.
Right, that's
this
a standard.
Patrick Mahomes phenomenon where it's just, you're compared to your MVP season.
No doubt about it. All right, we're going to link up his story, the first read this week, about the race for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Jeff, what's next on the docket for you? Are you headed anywhere? You got any big projects in front of you?
Yeah, I'm working on a couple of things for the postseason and just writing my first read column and, basically just getting ready for these big games here. I'm going to be at I've got a week off right now because there aren't a ton of big games outside of San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Texans, Broncos. So I'll be at the Bills game next week, Bills-Chiefs game, which is a huge game for this, what we're talking about right now.
No doubt about it. At Jeffri Chadiha, that's JEFFRICHADIHA on Twitter. That's how you follow him. Jeff, always appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for spending a couple of minutes with us. Let's do it again real soon, all right?
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Jeff Chadiha with us from NFL.com. Dak Prescott, NFL MVP. The numbers would certainly justify it, but at the same time, they haven't beaten anyone. Can you be the MVP of the NFL without having won a significant game all season? And I get it. Like, you don't want to discredit the fact that they've won games and they're a good football team. But do you have to win a big game? Can you get swept by the Eagles and still be the MVP of the league? I don't know. I don't have an obvious answer here. There's lots of time. We don't have to decide it today, but it's been fascinating to me. I believe we're down to 1 spot in the raffle. I believe that's where we are. I got to double-check my arithmetic here and make sure that I didn't put anybody on there twice, but I believe that we are down to 1 spot remaining. So who's going to be our hero? Who's going to close it up? Who's going to go ahead and get in with their $25 to claim the last spot in the raffle? And if you do, then we're going to wrap up today's show by pulling the first winning number. So get in right now. Glenn-Clark on Venmo, Glenn Clark 180 on PayPal. $25 gets you your raffle spot, and we'll start pulling winners today. Today. Thank you all for your generosity as we try to help up the Helping Up mission. Today's show also brought to you by Superbook. Speaking of MVP, we've been looking at MVP odds this week at Superbook, where Lamar Jackson is very high on the list. Right now, by the way, go to Superbook, download the Superbook app, use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up, and you'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. You could put that on Lamar Jackson to win MVP at plus 550. If you are feeling Jeff Chadiha's thought about Dak Prescott, he is plus 600. So go right now. Make that first deposit. You get that first bet match up to $250 on the same day. Use the code GlennClark23, Superbook.com, or download the Superbook app. When we come back in, we will make some picks. Our buddy Ken Zalis joins us. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. It is, I swear.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Todd Karpovich profiles the Orioles' survivors, Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Ryan Mountcastle, who all came from the previous regime but stuck through tough times to be key pieces in guiding the franchise back to prominence. Also inside, we remember the iconic Brooks Robinson with tributes from Jim Henneman and myself, Stan the Fan Charles, and a trip down memory lane to remember the most significant moments of his career. Plus, we meet players from college basketball programs around the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Visit Harford County. Gear up for the holidays by supporting local with Small Business Saturday on November 25th. Take in the dazzling sights of the season with a Ladue Christmas at Ladue Topiary Gardens. Enjoy holiday lights, sing along to holiday songs, reserve a carriage ride, and sit on Santa's lap in Bel Air's Winter Wonderland, happening every Saturday from November 25th until December 16th. Nothing sparks that holiday joy quite like a festive parade. Head to visitharford.com and click on Events. to see the full list of parades and so much more. In Maryland, you're welcome.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR?
All right, back in here on GCR, and you were supposed to come back with it. We gotta really work on timing.
Well, we gotta,
it's done. It's done. I don't want to
done.
set it up. I had no interest in setting it up.
Then don't set it up.
Really gotta. We really gotta.
Talk to me. Tell me your name.
Didn't want it now. I wanted you to come back and break with it. We're going to get there one day.
I was waiting to see if you were going to give it a beat.
No. We referred to that 30 minutes ago. It was William Hung doing She Bangs, which, as I said, Deion Sanders winning Sportsperson of the Year would be the equivalent of William Hung.
Things move fast, and I
winning
try
album
to
of the
react
year
as
at the
fast
Grammys.
as I can.
We gotta nail it. We gotta nail it. That's the way it's gotta go. It's okay. We'll edit all of this out before it ever makes air. No problem. When it makes air, it's gonna sound brilliant. It's gonna sound like it was pre-produced, the whole thing. Hey, all right. I need one more of you. One more of you to step up and claim the final spot in the raffle. Let's get that done right now. You'll get the last spot. And then we'll have raised $2,500 for helping out missions. So somebody do it right now. Today's show also brought to you by the Tyus Bowser Show. If you missed it, we pushed back the next Tyus Bowser Show, so we will not be getting together next Tuesday. It wasn't going to make any sense. We'd be coming off the bye. There wouldn't be a football game to talk about. Why would we do that? So we backed it up the following Tuesday, December 12th. And we got to move the location, so we're still nailing that down right now. We'll let you know ASAP. For the next Tyus Bowser Show. Find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. It's brought to you by our friends at AJ Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. It's a partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's Memorabilia. Join us for the next Tyus Bowser Show 1 week from Tuesday night. It's done. Mike Moeller, love you, buddy. Mike from Catonsville has stepped up and claimed the final spot in our raffle. We have raised $2,500 for helping up mission. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Now, we're not done yet. I want to raise at least another $350. We're going to do the bowl pick'em contest. I'll get those details out ASAP. And we're going to still do an event where we want you all to come hang out with us and bring some toiletries and underwear, and we're going to have some surprises for you if you do. So we're working on those details. That'll be next, but this was the biggest chunk that we needed taken care of. thank you for filling the raffle and helping us raise $2,500 for the folks at Helping Up Mission. Ken Zalis got in for that. He's a hero. What's going on, KZ? How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm all right. I'm much better now that we filled this raffle. I can tell you that much. Now I don't have to.
You worry too much. You always fill
It's
it.
not about worrying, Ken. It's about I just want it over with so we can get on to the next thing. That's where I am. I am always laser focused on the next thing that we want to do. So I am grateful to everybody for filling it up. Thank you. That's just one less thing that I've got to think about right now. So thank you.
Fantastic.
All right. I have a bit of a conundrum. As again, my fantasy team is important. Griffin can talk to you off the air. I don't know. Maybe I'll let you have one.
All right, one. I got to figure out which
one. But if we start running up against the clock, then you don't get to have one. I have a small issue because, God damn it, Jonathan Taylor got hurt again.
I know. It's just destroying me.
God damn it. And
many places.
I didn't draft Zach Moss like an idiot because I didn't decide until later that I was drafting John. It's a whole thing, right? So I'm basically what are we feeling about Achane at this point?
Looks like he'll play. He got a limited in yesterday. Haven't seen anything about today, but I there was a chance that he was going to play last week. I thought they did the right thing, gave him an extra week. I think he plays, and the interesting thing there is Mozart is banged up as well.
So that could be an even
so
bigger role.
it's worth watching. But if I had to guess right now, I think he plays. It was good that he started with a limited on Wednesday.
All right. So as long as he plays, then I will play him, right? And then I would presumably be able. Right now, this is bye week and injury. I'm in hell for the final time this season. So at the moment,
the NFL does this.
It's right. Nobody's on bye last week because you got to have 6 primetime games, and now everybody's back on bye this week. So the next question is, would you play as a flex? Because I picked up P. Ryan just to be my backup option if Achane doesn't play at running back. So as a flex, would you play George Pickens, Curtis Samuel, or P. Ryan?
I'm probably going to go Samuel. Half point PPR?
Full point.
Full point. I'm definitely going to go Samuel. It seems like that's the guy right now that's getting all the love and all the targets.
Okay.
I think he had 12 looks last week, caught 8-9 balls. I'm going to lean there. It's a good enough matchup for me.
Okay.
Leading passer in the league, yardage-wise, so why not?
Okay, so then I'm going to have to, because I dropped both my defense and kicker in order to massage my roster this week. So I've got to drop 2 from this group. I don't want to do this, and I know you're going to tell me to. Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Bye. Done.
I don't want to do that.
What for what?
Because I enjoy the idea.
Who's your quarterback?
Stroud.
Yeah, Stop. Just
stop. Wait a second.
That's it. He's not playing for at least 3 weeks.
He's going to pop that Achilles again, too.
You got to get into the playoffs. Let's go. Come on.
I'm 8-4. I feel pretty good about where I am playoff.
Okay. Okay, Kyle.
Stop. Wait a second. This isn't about that. I don't ever think I'm going to play him. I just don't want somebody else to be able to pick him up. And if I lose in the championship game to him when I was the smart one that picked him up during the course of the season,
that's a train wreck.
Well, why couldn't I just drop P. Ryan and Pickens?
He has no Why would you do that?
Because they stink.
P. Ryan's a handcuff backup who gets touches every week, and Pickens, with the offense the way it was last week, looks a little bit better. So no, we're not.
I'm gonna have to drop one of them. I'm going to drop Rodgers, and I'm gonna have to drop one of them as well.
Who's not starting for you this week?
Neither one of them.
No. Everybody, even the people on bye. Tell me who you have.
Josh Jacobs. Don't think I'm dropping him.
He's not benefiting you this week.
I didn't say a commentary after each one.
DJ Moore, Jonathan Taylor, Trevor Lawrence.
Well, you can put Taylor in your IR spot. Right?
No, my IR spot has Darren Waller in it, so I'd have to give up Darren Waller at that point.
And what's your point?
I mean, really.
Who's your tight end?
Don't start a kicker then.
Well, right now I have to play Freiermuth because Kincaid's on bye.
Waller can be dropped and put it there. We're done.
I don't want to help other teams, Ken. I don't want to do
playing.
that.
He's not playing and plays on a terrible team.
Why can't I just drop George Pickens? He stinks.
Look at Glenn. He's scared.
And he has no quarterback.
He's scared of Tommy
You may need
DeVito.
him.
What's that?
You may need him.
I have Watson, Nakua, and DJ Moore.
And okay.
And Odell
Great.
Beckham. Maybe I could drop Odell Beckham.
Well,
Yeah, I don't want to do that either.
Probably the right one.
Would you rather drop Beckham than Pickens?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
You've never told me that I should be playing George Pickens. You've never had any excitement about George Pickens this season, and all of a sudden he's undroppable.
I did. I had him as a bust this year. But when we're talking about going into the playoffs and protecting ourselves over injury, if you had to play one tomorrow in a playoff game, I'm telling you to play Pickens over Odell. Seriously, I would drop Waller, move JT into your IR spot, cut Rodgers, and let's be done with all this silliness.
I hate you. I really wish you would tell me what I wanted to hear. I really wish.
How long have we been doing this, Glenn?
I know. One time. I'm asking you to tell me something that I want to hear. One time ever. And you can't do that for me. All right, go ahead with Griffin's stupid thing.
I guess I gotta play Christian Watson now moving forward. And am I playing him over Deontay Johnson?
Full PPR, half PPR.
Half PPR.
Yeah, you're probably playing him this week over him. The matchup's good enough for me. I think it's a matchup based thing. Until this past week, Deontay's been getting a lot of love. All of a sudden, they figured out they have a top 5, top 10 tight end, and they only threw him the ball last week. Let's see how this offense kind of goes. I don't want to tell you every week, but this week, yes.
And then would I play? Is there any reason I play Dalton Schultz over Deontay Johnson? Schultz didn't practice yesterday, which is scary, but they have a really good matchup with Denver.
Wednesday. It's Wednesday. No, I don't play Schultz over
Deontay. Okay.
Over Deontay. I get it. He's one of the top 10 tight ends this year, but he's also very touchdown dependent.
All right. I'm gonna drop George Pickens out of spite to Ken Zalis.
You're gonna regret it.
It's like I just want to give
the revamped Steelers offense.
Yeah, sure. The revamped Steelers.
5 for 130 and 2 touchdowns, and somebody else is gonna pick him up.
Yeah, that's fine. Let him be their problem. All right, Ken Zalis, Fantasy Pros rankings every week at PressBoxOnline.com. Let's get into picks. Here's where we're at. There is a new leader atop the table, but I am not feeling comfortable. I am one game clear of the group of John Little Rock, KZ, and Nick Kelly. There has been a good fight at the top. It's a shame that the fight at the top is not all that significant. Like, it's only a little bit of money because it's been a hell of a battle. So it's been a great battle.
Where are you at?
I don't really care all that much. It's just not. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. It's money, but I'll probably just turn around and donate it to Helping Up Mission, even if I were to win. So. Andrew Steck, 2 games back. John Proctor and Kyle Ottenheimer, 3 games back. So 7 of us, all within 3 games of the top. And then there's everybody else. The good news for the folks at the bottom is that they're not losing. Jeremy Kahn is losing. It's almost certainly been clinched at this point. Jeremy Kahn, 22 games behind Griffin and Ryan Shell. Jeremy is almost certainly going to be the one that dresses up like the Notre Dame mascot, takes an Irish dance lesson, comes in and performs said Irish dance, enjoys a Will Levis Irish coffee, blood sausage, haggis, and tripe, and sings Nothing Compares to You and Zombie. Although he still believes he's got a shot.
After one, what did he go? 1-8 last week?
Yeah, 1-7 because we did have a push in there.
Oh, we had a push. Yeah.
It's like, as he has said, his strategy has always been betting against the public, and that has been a very bad strategy this season. This has just been a weird year where the public has been right more frequently than not in the NFL. But we'll see how it goes this week. Ryan Shell, Griffin Bass, as I mentioned, currently tied in Scott Stapp position, as if the loser of the original 10 only loses to Jeremy Kahn. They have to go by themselves to a Creed concert next summer. And then Paul Valley, 1 game clear of them. All right, that's where we are. 3 college games. Final week for a little while that we can do 3 college games. 3 college games, 6 NFL games to pick. Where are we starting this week?
Let's start with the Big Ten Championship. It's going to be Saturday night on Fox, and the number 2 Michigan Wolverines take on the Big Ten West champions, the final Big Ten West champions in the Iowa Hawkeyes. And Michigan is, they were 22-point favorites. Michigan's 22, laying 22.
I mean, that seems absurd for a championship game, but yet, yeah, like you want to take Iowa, you want to be a team that does. I get it. The number is just absolutely ridiculous, and yet that smells right. Give me Michigan, and I don't care. I mean, if this number was 28 points, maybe I'd think about it, but come on, man. Iowa has no offense, and Michigan's like they're a horse. Michigan.
First of all, we can say this about every one of these games. I hated the lines this week. It just as every single game. I hated the lines. I guess it comes down to is, do you believe that Iowa scores in this game? Because if they get, let's say they get 10 points, you're saying does Michigan has to score 35 or 30, whatever it is.
And to be fair, against a good Iowa defense.
A good Iowa defense who has limited teams. It's an awful big number. But I can't either. Yeah. I don't believe they'll score. They couldn't score against Nebraska. I now think their offense is going to be better against Michigan. No, I'll take Michigan.
The thing that gives me pause is that this is the late game. This is the last game of the slate. So we know the Pac-12 champ will be in. If Texas wins, Texas is in. And then let's say like Bama beats Georgia, and then do they really want to keep Georgia out of the playoff? And so like I'm thinking, what if the NCAA calls the Big Ten? They tell them to hit the button.
But do they want the 1 seed to maybe play Florida State?
I feel like Florida State. I don't think Florida State can be in it. I don't think they're going to put Florida State.
The idea of them leaving out an undefeated power conference, it has never happened. They have never left an undefeated power conference. But this is like
such an unprecedented circumstance.
I understand, but like
if they're undefeated, you can't do it. You can't do it. What if they go? And I know that everything that could have gone wrong for Florida State went wrong with Louisville losing. But what if they beat Louisville by 3 touchdowns?
I don't care if they win by 4. You're not leaving this thing is a sham if you leave an undefeated power conference champion out of it. It's a sham. And I get it. I don't want Florida State in the thing either. Nobody wants to watch a backup quarterback, although, once again, Cardale Jones, we all remember that was the thing that happened. No one has any interest in seeing a backup quarterback play in the most meaningful games of the season. But you
can't do it.
You can't do it. And by the way,
the committee is supposed to be – I think they're supposed to be putting in the best teams to this point. Next year is when, then they'll seed it based on what they deserved. And Florida State would have deserved the top 4 first-round bye.
Team thing is a fairy tale. That's nonsense. It is as nonsense gets. The best team is the team that won all of their games. And this bit where you're like, well, yeah, but they don't have their quarterback. You have no clue. You're just someone who thinks they're smarter than they are and believes the SEC is just better than everybody. This year, that has not been the case. It has not been. Alabama needed a miracle to beat a team that lost to New Mexico State the week before that. Spare me this. Yeah, but would you rather? You are biased by what has happened in previous seasons. Alabama is not deserving of being in the playoff, even if they beat Georgia. There is no justification of it. You can't justify it. The only thing you're feeling is that Alabama has been good every other year, so they got to be good again this year. They just needed a miracle to beat Auburn, who lost to New Mexico State. Stop it. We're not smarter than we think we are. If Alabama beats Georgia, no SEC team belongs in the playoff.
They're setting themselves up not to have, because they've had Mizzou, they've had Ole Miss, like basically in the top 10 all season. They are setting this SEC up to look, much stronger than however strong they think it is, and that's essentially 4 teams that are basically top 10. I think Ole Miss is 11 right now. And so I think that is how
I want to see it so badly.
I want to see chaos too.
So bad.
I still have no idea what this has to do with Saturday night.
I think they might hit the button and make Iowa win this game.
You can't make Iowa win this game. Iowa can't move the football. They would have to be capable of throwing a pass.
The spread is as big as the total was it's a little bit smaller than the total was last week. I mean, it's what Ken said. Can Iowa score? Deacon Hill is so bad. The Iowa offense is so bad. But I got to get back into this thing, and the way that I was at the top of the table was how, at the start of the season was when I was picking 3.5 touchdown underdogs, like our sports person of the year, Deion Sanders in Colorado. So I'm taking Iowa in this one. There's so much that has to, Michigan looks really good, but their national championship was last week. I think Iowa will continue to stay up and see. I want to see what happens. I'm taking Iowa.
All the other stuff you said is nonsense. The only justification for it is that. It's just a crazy spread. That's the only way you can justify it. But everything else you just said is utter and complete nonsense. Next. What did everybody else think?
I'm not the only one on Iowa.
Is it Jeremy?
No, Jeremy is on Michigan.
Oh, no. Son of a bitch. Can I change my pick?
On Iowa is Paul Valley and John Proctor and myself. 3 of us taking the Hawkeyes.
Okay. It's a big spread. That's all I can tell you. It's a crazy big spread.
To tomorrow night on Friday night on ABC. Number 5, Oregon takes on number 3, Washington. This one's in Las Vegas for the Pac-12 championship. And Oregon, they are 9.5-point favorites.
Which definitely seems. I get it. Oregon is the team we all look at and say they look like a national champion. And I get that Washington has looked for a few weeks. Like, they win, but we're not all that impressed by them. But I still feel like this is a disrespect type of thing. And the other thing, too, is that, like, Dan Lanning has never proven himself. And Oregon's history is that they disappoint in these moments. And I know nothing. Dan Lanning so far in the biggest games that he's coached, lost.
Colorado. That's one of the biggest games.
No, it wasn't.
Sports person
at
of
all.
the year right there.
Yeah, thank you. I can't believe they robbed Ken again. Unbelievable. I'm going to show the respect to at least say that 9.5 is not a worthy number here. I'm going to pick Washington.
I am not. Because of all the things that you just said. I've watched, the good part about teams on the West Coast is you get to watch them if you choose to stay up late every week because it's the only game left. So I've watched a lot of Washington, and they have not impressed me. And everything you say is correct about Oregon in big games, but it's under 10 for me, and that was my threshold. I'm going to take Oregon. I think this is a blowout, personally.
I believe Oregon's the better team right now, and I'd rather see them in the playoff too. I think they're the more complete team, but Washington's getting knocked because they're playing all these teams that like close that Oregon is beaten by 2, 3, 4 scores. But I think there's definitely that revenge factor for Oregon for their 3-point loss to Washington. But Michael Penix is a lot of fun. I like Kalen DeBoer a lot too.
He hasn't been as much fun recently.
I still think he is. They're winning games, and I think Washington, they get up for this game. I don't know if they get up enough to win it, but 9.5 is a lot. So to lose by double digits, I don't think there's any chance. So yeah, I'm taking Washington as well. So Glenn and I on Washington. We're pretty much split. Glenn and I on Washington. John Proctor is on Washington. John in Little Rock and Ryan Shell on the Huskies. Everybody else on Oregon.
All right.
To the SEC Championship. This is the 4 p.m. window on Saturday on CBS. Number 1, Georgia, taking on number 8, Alabama. And Georgia, 5-point favorites.
I don't like that, but ultimately I think that the chaos thing that we want, we're going to be disappointed by because I do think Georgia's going to take care of business in this game. I get it. Like, Georgia wasn't all that impressive against Georgia Tech either. Like, I know I'm killing Alabama for the fact they needed a miracle to beat Auburn, but it was a 1-score game between Georgia and Georgia Tech, and that was weird. And I get it. Georgia's not the buzzsaw that they have been, but they're a better team. They're a better team than Alabama is. I might regret it with the points, but I'm taking Georgia here.
So if we've learned anything from all of our time doing this is that bad luck to bet against Bama, bad luck to bet against Georgia. So what do we do here? So we take the 5 points and we take Alabama. Look, yeah, they needed a miracle to beat Auburn, who's not a great team, but same thing. I throw away the Georgia Tech, the Alabama Auburn thing. It's a goofy week. It always is a goofy week with rivalry week. Alabama's looked good enough for me outside of last week, and Georgia's had some lulls in the season, and 5's too much in a game that I think could be a one-score game. So I'll take Alabama here.
Yeah, I'd really like to see Alabama in the playoff. I mean, Jaden Milroe from September feels like so long ago. He looks like a lot of fun right now. But Georgia is Georgia.
It is such a goofy bit that you're doing with Alabama. Like that we just pretend like that didn't happen last week.
I mean, Ken said the same thing. I mean, it is a weird week. It is a weird week.
It's a weird week. It's still a game that they played that mattered significantly.
And they won.
By the skin
and they
of
got
their
into the
teeth
SEC
against a terrible football team.
Georgia looked awful against Georgia Tech, who's much worse.
They didn't need a miracle to win. They just kind of didn't care that much down the stretch.
Oh, maybe. Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, Georgia, it is a weird number, like 5. But so maybe that is just they're putting it at a number where everyone's gonna bite on Georgia. It's enough that everyone can still lay it with the Bulldogs. And
I assume it'd be the other way.
So it should be a bigger number or a
Georgia,
shorter number?
Georgia's probably worthy of being a touchdown favorite against Alabama this season, but I think they want you to bet Alabama here.
I think, all right. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here. I'm taking Georgia because they're Georgia. So most of us are on the Bulldogs. Ken, you are not alone on Alabama. One other is betting on the Tide.
God.
It is Ryan Shell.
Yeah, he's not been very good either. He's not. It's not as bad as Jeremy, but it's not a good one.
That's okay.
To the NFL and tonight.
It is a weird scenario though, where the two of you could steal a point on Alabama. Like that is a weird scenario.
Right. It's
All right, we got to pick up the pace. All these numbers, by the way, spreads coming from Superbook. Again, superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose, from Superbook. Let's go.
Thursday Night Football tonight on Prime. Seattle at Dallas, and the Cowboys, they are laying 9 against Seattle.
Well, this tests a lot of things, right? Because this would technically be a good win for Dallas, and they don't get those. But at the same time, Seattle hasn't played well in a while, so this feels like exactly the type of game where Dallas wins. God, this number is brutal. I don't know. Dallas is rolling. Dallas.
Yeah, not only is Dallas rolling, but they're really rolling at home this year. So we got to pick up the pace. I don't think there's much in this game. Dallas by a ton.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much laid out the same things you guys just did. I mean, the Cowboys have looked perfect, near perfect for a month straight now, but again, against really bad teams. But, I have no idea what the Seahawks are, and the Cowboys, as you guys said, they're rolling, so I will take the Cowboys as well. We have 2 backers of the Seattle Seahawks. It is Dr. Nick Kelly and Jeremy Kahn.
Oh, boy. That's unfortunate for Nick.
Taking Seattle. To Sunday at 1 p.m. on Fox, Detroit Lions at New Orleans, taking on the Saints, and Detroit is laying 4 on the road.
I mean, the Saints kind of showed who they are a week ago. I get it. The Detroit thing was disappointing from last week, but I still genuinely believe that's a better football team, Detroit.
Yeah, I'm not going to back off of Detroit now. I'll take the Lions. I don't like the number. I think it's a close game, but Detroit.
Yeah, Lions have responded well after losses this season, notably on the defensive side as well. So I'll take Lions and the under in this one. We have a lone wolf, one backer of the New Orleans Saints. It is Jeremy Kahn.
Oh, there you go. He's got to get back in it somehow.
Denver at Houston, also at 1 o'clock on CBS.
Great game.
Yeah, the Broncos at the both. Yeah, Broncos are in the playoffs right now. Yes. They are 3.5-point underdogs going into Houston. Houston laying 3.5.
3.5. Oh, God. I was really hoping this was a 3 and that we could just count on the push here. I badly want to take Houston. But you got to acknowledge that the Broncos are playing well defensively. They've been excellent. Hell, I did it last week. I'm doing it again. I'm just going to keep riding with Houston. Houston, that's the pick. I hate it.
I kind of like it. I mean, Denver's playing well, but they haven't played anybody.
You heard of the Kansas City Chiefs?
The Kansas City Chiefs stink. I'm going to take Houston. No, their offense isn't what I mean. I get it that we all love the Chiefs, but their offense, admittedly, hasn't been.
While I to some extent agree with you, saying it's still Patrick Mahomes.
They just handed Denver that game.
All right,
literally handed it to them. They dropped 3 touchdown passes. It was like the Steelers game with the Ravens. They dropped every ball under the sun, and still only lost by 2. Give me Houston.
I really hate this one too because I love this Texans team. But I mean I gotta go with the hotter team, quote unquote here. Yeah, getting points. Despite being on the road, they have Russell Wilson. So I will take.
I know it's funny.
What does that mean?
Like,
Russell Wilson.
He's actually played really well.
Yeah.
Like what is it?
Played
20?
Okay. Yeah.
Dude, it's like 20 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Like he's played really well.
Okay. Take Russell Wilson and the Broncos. You said the Texans, right, Glenn?
Yeah, I did.
I'm on the Broncos. Joining me is Kyle Ottenheimer, John in Little Rock, Ryan Shell, and Jeremy Kahn taking Denver. To the 4 p.m. window at 4:25. This one's on Fox. It is their game of the week. San Francisco taking on the Eagles in Philly, and the Eagles are getting 2.5 at home, taking on the Niners.
I understand. I mean, I do, right? Like, the 49ers, top to bottom, look like the best team in football. The Eagles have been imperfect. But ultimately, the one thing the Eagles have shown is the moxie. Like, they're a good team, and then when the game is on the line, they're a better team. And I don't think the 49ers are blowing the Eagles out. So getting points at home, I know it's not enough that like it really matters if they lose. Like if they lose, they're probably going to lose by 3. But I'm still going to ride with the Eagles here.
Yeah, I am not. I'm going to go with best team in football, most complete team in football, and that's the 49ers. I get coming across the country. I get all that stuff. But this is one of those games that Philly can't wait until the fourth quarter to do it. They're going to have to keep up with them. They're going to have to try to limit them offensively and at the same time handle a really good defensive pass rush. I'm going to take the 49ers. It's not the 2.5 doesn't do anything for me when you think it's a 3-point game or better one way or the other. So I'll take San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, almost strictly a vibes pick here, I guess. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles, they just seem to find ways to win games. It is very rare that you find these, teams that are actually, so since 2004, teams that are 10-1 or better as home underdogs. There's only been 3 instances of it. They're 1-2 against the spread. But it doesn't really even matter because those other instances, 2 of them are Week 17s where, the best team was resting. Right. The other one was the 2004 AFC Championship when the one-loss Steelers were led by Big Ben. Took on the Patriots and they lost outright. They're not that team. The Eagles are not that team. They find ways to win games. So I'm going to take the Eagles getting points at home, even though it's not a ton. I'm going to take the Eagles to keep finding a way. Me and Glenn on the Eagles. There are 3 of us total on the Eagles. The other one joining us, Dr. Nick Kelly. Everyone else taking.
I get it. They're the best team in football. I understand.
The road favorites.
Or the best, most complete team in football. I understand.
Right.
Second to last game, 4:25 on Fox. Cleveland Browns taking on the LA Rams in Los Angeles, and the Rams are laying 3.5 against the maybe Joe Flacco-led Browns.
I mean, what do you do with that? It's so weird, right? It's still the Rams against the Browns defense. So even if you think that like the Browns are going to be incompetent at quarterback, whether it's I guess the thought is it's either going to be Joe Flacco or it's going to be a combination, as Drake likes to say, of Joe Flacco and P.J. Walker. What am I missing that they hate P.J. Walker, by the way? Like, didn't he look somewhat competent when he played?
I mean, he beat the 49ers, right? Yeah.
Why do they hate him? Like, what is it? What am I missing there? I don't like the idea of the Rams giving 3.5 points because they have been far too inconsistent. But I would argue that when their guys have been healthy, they've played well. So I'm gonna bite on the Rams, and I'll feel stupid about it later.
No, you won't, because they're going to win, and they're going to win big. And Cleveland doesn't have an offense. I don't care which one of the three are quarterbacking the Rams.
Wait, is there still
the Browns?
Is there still a chance that Thompson Robinson can play?
Yes.
Let's see what the latest
He's just got a clear protocol, so we'll see what happens. And they said the last thing I saw is that it's either DTR or Flacco. Like, it's not going to be.
What? Why do they hate
him?
I don't
what
know.
What is the
I don't
deal
know.
there?
I don't know.
Fancy said yesterday he was surpassed by Joe Flacco.
So bizarre, man.
You know, I mean, I don't think I mean, we all watched Flacco play for the Jets, and everybody
he looked great.
Make their own
for a game.
Make their own determination about how that went. A little bit too much offense for me. Aaron Donald may kill one of their quarterbacks this week. I'll take the Rams.
In case Flacco plays, I'm taking the Browns. Getting points, 3.5.
What does that have? Why? What does that mean?
This is your Deion Sanders guy.
He might deserve to be sports person after this.
This is just some dumb internet shtick that he's doing.
Okay.
I'm taking the Browns. You said the Rams, right, Glenn?
Yes.
Joining me on the Browns is Kyle Ottenheimer.
He loves the Browns.
Probably in case
nobody loves the Browns like Kyle Ottenheimer loves the Browns.
And now they got Joe Flacco. John and Little Rock is on the Browns. Ryan Shell and Jeremy Kahn taking the Cleveland Browns, all in case Joe Flacco plays.
Sure.
Final game of our slate, Sunday Night Football. Kansas City at Green Bay, and Kansas City, they are laying 6 points.
Green Bay. You know, I'm willing to believe, and 6 points is not like I don't know that they'll win the game, but I am willing to buy in that what's happening in Green Bay is real, and Kansas City has been inconsistent enough, as Ken pointed out earlier, that I'm not prepared to have confidence in them. Green Bay is the pick here.
I have zero confidence in Kansas City going on the road in Green Bay. But I did this after week 2 for about 3 weeks with Green Bay, and I'm not doing it again. Just because you play one good game doesn't mean that all your problems are solved, and doesn't mean that all of a sudden Christian Watson is the guy that we thought he was going to be at the beginning of the year. You still are without your best football player, it appears, in Aaron Jones. I'm going to take Kansas City.
Good pick, Ken. I think this is going to be one of those nights where, because I don't believe in Jordan Love. One team has Patrick Mahomes, one team has Jordan Love, and I think it's going to be one of those nights where we're sitting there like, what is Chris Collinsworth talking about when he's comparing Jordan Love to Montana and Favre and Jesus Christ himself?
Okay, that's disrespectful because he's done that with actual crap quarterbacks.
I mean,
if you're trying to compare Jordan Love to Tyson Bagent, get out.
I don't think he's going to look.
And have a reasonable conversation
great
about this.
I don't think he's going to look great down the stretch either. One team is Patrick Mahomes.
Just takes for the sake of takes.
I'm
just
taking
saying anything.
The Kansas City Chiefs alongside Ken. Joining Ken and I is John Proctor, John in Little Rock, Dr. Nick Kelly, and then Jeremy Kahn, also on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay. Ken Zalis.
Want some breaking news?
Yes.
Joe Flacco starting.
An arrest warrant has been issued for Bills linebacker Von Miller in a domestic violence.
Oh, that is awful. God, that's just terrible, man.
I'd say it's good breaking news.
Yeah, there's nothing really to follow that up with.
There's not.
Yeah,
there's not.
So thanks for that, pal. Really,
you're welcome. Sorry,
really appreciate you giving us that information. All right, Fantasy Pros is where you find him. No longer find him on Twitter. He's gone to other locations.
I have. It's been
Blue
very
Sky or something.
Freeing. It really has.
Congratulations.
I found a whole new world during Ravens games on Facebook. It was great.
All right.
Is that a better world?
I can't imagine that it's much.
It was enjoyable.
Go find him in those spots instead.
Guess everybody hates Harbaugh over there, probably.
Yeah, they're there with him. They're there.
No, not really.
All right. And his rankings every week at PressBoxOnline.com. Love you, pal. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you again next week. All right.
Take care, guys.
That's Ken Zalis with us here on GCR for picks. Yeah, you know what? On top of everything else, on top of what I said about Auburn, John's point is well taken. John Proctor says Griffin has had some bad takes, but wanting to see Alabama in the playoffs again is not a great one. That's the other thing. That's the other side of it too.
Some of the best football.
What do you mean? Some of the what? Where?
Nick Saban.
When?
His entire career.
So you just like seeing the same thing over and over again?
I mean, when we only get 4 teams, I want to see the best. I do not want to see Florida State. I don't want to see Florida State get rolled by Georgia.
No one wants to watch a backup quarterback in the playoffs, but you can't do that. You can't
I think you have
do
to.
it. No. That's just a nonsense thing that you're saying. And by the way, as I said last night, and I was talking to our friend Heather Dinich, who, of course, no one covers the college football committee the way that she does. She's basically part of it. Anything is possible. She said does not believe they would do that. She does not believe it. This is you have to go stand at a podium and address your partner to say to the ACC, we left your undefeated champion out of the playoff. No chance. None. These are all partners in this thing. It's difficult enough that you have to leave somebody out, right? Like one of these conferences has to get left out no matter what. To say to your partner, you had a team that did everything right, and we left them out anyway, almost impossible. I'm not enamored with Washington. I don't really believe they can win a national championship. I don't believe in any way that Florida State can win a national championship. But you can't do that. The season is a sham if you're just going to pick the 4 teams that you want or the teams that used to be good or something like that. It's a sham. The bit people are trying to do were like, well, the Texas-Alabama game doesn't count because it happened at the beginning of the year. And the entire process is a sham. There is no justification for putting in Alabama over Texas, no matter what. You can't justify it by anything other than dumb butt vibes, which, again, doesn't even make sense because Alabama tried and needed a miracle to beat a bad team. They don't even have the vibes. The only vibes they would have would be beating Georgia. But in that scenario, if Texas's best win is Alabama and Alabama's best win is Georgia, whose win was better? Texas's.
Yeah, Texas.
There is no justification for Alabama getting into the playoff unless
Texas loses.
Michigan loses. And Texas loses. One of the two. It's the only justification for it. You can't. All you're doing is falling back on Alabama's been good in other years, so they just have to be good now. You can't justify it. Now, again, if this thing is completely shady and underhanded and they're just willing to say the hell with it, the SEC pays us more money and gets us better ratings, so we'll just admit that this whole process is a sham.
That's kind of where I'm leaning.
And maybe that's not impossible. I'm choosing not to believe that that's the case. But it's certainly not impossible that they'll just come back and say, sorry, the process is a sham. Ratings. That's it. That's all this comes down to is ratings. And, dumb people that just think that ratings are the thing that matters more than anything else in the world. If that's the case, why have a committee? What are we doing? It's the job of the committee to figure this out.
Put Colorado in the playoff.
Well, they don't get ratings anymore. Nobody cared. That's the most hilarious part about the SI thing is they can't even get social media traction out of it because no one cares. It's over. Everybody went home. We're all good. We stopped being concerned about what Colorado was doing some time ago. I don't actually care all that much because my teams are not involved with this. I don't root for anybody. I don't even have a passing interest in any team that's involved with this. I'm inclined to not like the majority of the teams that are involved in this conversation. I have no real reason to not like Washington. I don't really have any real reason to not like Oregon. They've been shoved down our throats a little bit, but not to the extent that Alabama, Texas, and Georgia have. I mean, Michigan, God. All we have to hear about. I'm inclined to not like these programs. But from simple math, there's nothing that can justify Alabama getting into the playoff short of Texas or Michigan losing. You're just saying the season is everything about the process is a sham. This thing, well, you're supposed to pick the best teams. There's no way to know that. That's just a nonsense thing that you say in order to try to make your argument. There is no actual evidence that says that Alabama is a better team than any of these other teams we're talking about. It doesn't exist. They would have a hell of a good win. If they beat Georgia, they would have a great win. The problem is Texas has a better one, if that's the case. It's the reality.
Yeah. Well, we need.
And again, Texas's only path in is for Alabama to win. Like, Texas can't get in if Georgia wins.
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan would have to. Like, the Michigan would have
Texas
to lose.
Isn't Texas in right now?
If Alabama wins, no. If Georgia wins, it's Georgia, the Pac-12 champion, Michigan, and Florida State. It cleans up fairly nicely if Georgia and Florida State and Michigan all take care of business. If Georgia, Florida State, and Michigan all win, they're in. And then the Pac-12 champion joins them. That's the no chaos scenario. That's the everything is fine. Bummer for Texas, they get left out, but you can't justify Texas in over Oregon if Alabama picks up a second loss. That win is no longer so valuable that it wins out over the Pac-12 champion. It cleans up very nicely for the playoff if that scenario plays out. That's the cleanest scenario is Georgia wins, Michigan wins, Florida State wins, and then you have a Pac-12 champion. And even though none of us want Florida State in the playoff, we just can't do this. All right. We come back in. It is the most intriguing. I've said this a couple times this week. It's the most intriguing championship weekend we've ever had since the playoff began. Simply because of
there's a lot more. Well, I guess there's 4 undefeateds.
There's not an obvious. In the past, it's the SEC champion is just in no matter what, and maybe a second team gets in. There's no way. Again, short of bizarro scenarios. If Michigan were to lose, then maybe Georgia could lose and still get into the SEC championship game. If Florida State were to lose, then maybe Georgia could lose and still get in. There's just not room. And Georgia is probably the team that gets screwed the most in all of this. But
one loss, yeah.
But there's no room. Like the season, you can't just say there's only one conference playing, particularly in a year where that conference wasn't overwhelming. They weren't. We come back in. We'll talk some more Ravens. Jonas Shaffer, the Baltimore Banner. Today's show brought to you by Project Game Day. No game day this week, obviously, with no game this week, so we'll be back 1 week from Sunday for Project Game Day. Brought to you by AJ Michael, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Me, Rita, Femi, KZ, Stecca, Josh Charles, the whole crew, hanging out with you each and every game day this season. PressBoxOnline.com/game day to find out more. Watch Facebook.com/PressBoxSports or YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline for Project Game Day. Jonas Shaffer next, Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Visit Harford County. Gear up for the holidays by supporting local with Small Business Saturday on November 25th. Take in the dazzling sights of the season with a Ladue Christmas at Ladue Topiary Gardens. Enjoy holiday lights, sing along to holiday songs, reserve a carriage ride, and sit on Santa's lap in Bel Air's Winter Wonderland, happening every Saturday from November 25th until December 16th. Nothing sparks that holiday joy quite like a festive parade. Head to visitharford.com and click on events to see the full list of parades and so much more. In Maryland, you're welcome.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. Obviously, Ravens off this week as they sit at 9-3 here at the bye. What's going to take for them to keep this going against a very difficult schedule? Let's talk about that next. Our guest, of course, covers the Baltimore Ravens for the Baltimore Banner. He is our friend Jonas Shaffer, and he's back with us now here on the program. Jonas, what's going on, sir? How are you?
I'm doing well, Glenn. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. You doing anything like bye week? You going anywhere? You doing anything? You just sort of sitting at home?
Yeah, I think I'm just kind of sitting at home. I don't know if you've been watching any of the new season of Fargo, but I think
Jonas, let's shut up. Let's not talk about the Ravens. Let's talk about the moment when Juno Temple drops the accent when she's talking to his mom. Look, man, Keely's a great character from Ted Lasso, and I like Juno Temple, but that was like as astonishing as I have seen. What she was able to convey the moment she dropped the accent in that conversation was as fine of acting as I've seen on television all year.
I confess to being a bit of a stupid TV watcher in that moment because I was more so concentrated on the threat and less cognizant of the fact that she is, in fact, not Minnesotan or Minnesota nice. So, yeah, I feel like a dummy listening to a podcast episode talking about that moment in Fargo. But I brought up Fargo just to say that my vibe for this weekend is probably just John Hamm, nipple rings out, chilling in a hot tub.
Dude, the fact that they even played up that, like, they even did a joke about John Hamm having a huge, you know what? Like, the fact that they able to sneak that into the script and it kind of worked, like, and it didn't even feel forced, gave me so much joy. Like, I know it's such a dumb thing about TV viewing, and I don't know how you've been. The Chris Rock season to me was bad. Like, it was a bad season. It wasn't just disappointing or not up to the standing. I thought it was bad television that was disjointed, and I just couldn't stay with it. It was painful. This season is shaping up to maybe be the best season of the show.
Its early returns are good. It was wild to look back and remember that season 1 was 2014, so we're almost a decade in. But I mean, like, the first 2 seasons of that show were remarkable. I don't know which one I would say is my favorite, but this one is definitely gunning for that top spot.
God, it's so good. It is so insanely good. If y'all aren't watching Fargo this year, bonkers how good this season is. All right, is there anything else, any TV viewing recommendations you have? Anything else that you're, because this is way more interesting to me.
Nothing pressing.
Okay.
That there's a new show. Probably very few of your listeners have Paramount Plus, but if they do, and they like kind of dark, biting humor, there's a show called Colin from Accounts. It's an Australian import about 2 folks who kind of discarded their hopes for love and bond over the shared trauma of hitting a dog.
What?
And the dog is fine. Obviously, they're not going to kill the dog, but if you liked, like You're the Worst on FX or Half Innings on ABC, then you'll probably really enjoy it.
Okay, I was a big You're the Worst guy, so I will take this recommendation. I do have Paramount Plus, so I am willing. My kids were very excited to watch Good Burger 2 over the weekend, so I am a Paramount Plus man.
I would not watch this show with them.
No, I don't think it'll be viewing with them. You know, it was really sad. Is I said I was going to put it on. I think it was like during a college football game on Saturday. Might have even been during the Maryland game. I was like, all right, I'll let you guys watch Good Burger while I watch some football. And I definitely found myself looking up at Good Burger. I was so embarrassed by that.
And Keenan looks exactly the same.
He does. It's unbelievable. I would even argue, because then they wanted to go back and watch the first one, so I let them watch it. I would argue he might look better at this point in his life than he looked then. All right, so I want to go through, because I know in your podcast you did the Wheel of Worry this week. I want to cover some things that maybe people would point out as concerns. And I'll separate it because the schedule is obviously very difficult, but there's nothing the Ravens can do about that. Let's talk about some unique concerns. And I think the first one that jumps out is Ronnie Stanley, Morgan Moses, and the struggles the Ravens have had against high-level edge rushers. And I get it. These guys are really good. Khalil Mack, Myles Garrett, they dominate a lot of folks. But there's a lot of those guys left on the schedule, and presumably more in the playoffs. How concerned should Ravens fans be about the play of Ronnie Stanley and Morgan Moses in particular?
Yeah, I mean, if it's the Week 12 versions of those guys, then definitely. I think when you think about Lamar and what he's asked of his front office over the years, the first big ask was for him to be delivered a wall up front, and the Ravens have invested in the offensive line. I think that's been a hallmark of Eric DeCosta's draft process that he's acknowledged. He wants to draft at least one offensive lineman in every single draft, and obviously they spent big money on Ronnie Stanley. The Morgan Moses deal, despite what he's going through with injury-wise now, I think was a really smart deal. And, if he finishes this year strong, then I think it makes all the sense in the world to bring him back for that third year. And, Patrick McCarry has been okay. Obviously he's had some real standout games, like the first game against Cincinnati, but just with his kind of lack of physical tools, he's always going to be having to win more with technique than with just outright athleticism. So it's not a great spot, but that's what the bye week is for. That's what rest management is for. I can't say that I feel better about the exterior of the line than I do about the interior. But obviously, we have seen really good quarterbacks manage really bad offensive lines and been able to elevate their circumstances. Obviously, the Ravens don't have a Jamar Chase, don't have a T. Higgins like Joe Burrow did last year or the previous 2 years when he was just dealing with chaos all around him. Patrick Mahomes has dealt with bad offensive lines in the past, but he's always just been a generational passer in terms of reducing pressures to sacks, which is something that Lamar has some ups and downs with. So I don't know how much to say that this is going to be Lamar's problem, how much is going to be John Harbaugh's problem, how much is going to be Ronnie Stanley's problem. It's obviously not ideal. I think I'm probably a little bit more optimistic that Ronnie can get back, to, sub Pro Bowl form. I don't know if he'll ever get back to that level just based on the injuries and based on the knee stuff and the ankle stuff. But he's had some really good games this year, and I think that's reflected in, him having a better pass blocking grade on PFF than even Patrick McCarry. So if he can stay out of harm's way, which obviously is a big risk for these next couple of weeks, and have him feeling like 90% of Ronnie Stanley for week 16 against San Francisco, and I think that would be a nice litmus test. But obviously, if the Ravens want to have the kind of downfield passing offense that they have lacked at times this season, then they're going to need to have a better pocket presence for Lamar.
Let me expand that out as we're chatting with Jonas Shaffer from the Baltimore Banner. The offense on the whole on Sunday night wasn't inept. It was sort of inconsistent, incongruent. I don't know what the right word is to describe it, because they gained over 5 yards per play. They moved the ball. They didn't go 3 and out. These drives bogged down and didn't turn into touchdowns. And it felt like it was a combination of Khalil Mack was starting to become an ass kicker as the game went on, but also it started to feel like maybe the life without Mark Andrews was a factor on Sunday night. So adjusting to life without Mark Andrews and not have you can't understate it. You can't just lose a player of that caliber and not have it affect significantly an offense. How much do you feel like that continues to be an issue for the Ravens coming out of the bye?
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing about Sunday's game was just like how kind of bifurcated it was. Like they were good on first and second down, but bad on third and fourth down.
Mm-hmm.
They were good inside their 50 and then really, really bad in Chargers territory. I think they were averaging 7.5 yards per play in their territory and something like 2.5 in Chargers territory. And, obviously it's not a huge sample size of plays. There's a lot of variance that goes into that. But if they want to make life easier for themselves on third and fourth down, then they're going to need either better solutions on first and second down. They have to decide whether they want to be this pass heavy of a team. They have to decide when teams present them with these light boxes, do you want to just plunge ahead with Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell and take those 5 or 6 yard gains, or do you want to lean into what Lamar had asked for all offseason and more of a spread them out passing team? It's not like they have all of a sudden become, like the Bengals or the Chiefs in terms of just those run pass ratios, but they need to do whatever they can that allows them to hit that easy button, because you're right. I mean, for so long, Mark Andrews has been the bailout option on third down. I think, when I wrote about his impact last week, something like 75% of his catches on third down have gone for first downs, which is just a really, really incredible statistic. There's no one that has that familiarity, that chemistry with Lamar Jackson like Mark Andrews. I mean, if you look at just the career passing totals from Lamar to all of his passers, it's like Mark Andrews first, Hollywood Brown second, he's gone. Willie Snead third, he's gone. That's not something that you can just snap your fingers and expect to rise to starter level chemistry. You're going to need to have that time on task. So I don't know if there's an easy solution. It was interesting to see the Ravens shift their offense a little bit around with Isaiah Likely in there, doing more stuff with him in space, more stuff with him before the snap, as a kind of bluff blocker, split zone type plays for him and for Lamar to look at. So I like Todd Monken's ability to adapt, but obviously when you lose one of the top 2 or 3 best tight ends in the NFL, it's going to be really tough. And that's going to put so much pressure on guys like Rashad and Odell and Zay, and of course his offensive line to make up for that absence.
And the funny thing on the touchdown drive, that you're like, God, that's what this is. That's what you're capable of. Like, that's what this can be. And mixing in Rashad with a huge catch on third down, but it just didn't sustain during the course of the game. Jonas, the one that I have no idea how to talk about, because I don't think you can just dismiss it any longer as far as concerns are concerned. No pun intended. Justin Tucker. I get it. A lot of the misses are very long. And when I talk about Justin Tucker, I don't expect Justin Tucker to miss more 44-yard field goals in essentially indoor conditions. I don't expect that. But I don't expect anyone. I wouldn't expect, the worst kicker in the NFL to be missing 44-yard kicks in those conditions. I'm talking about Justin Tucker at the standard that we've expected Justin Tucker to be at. And the reason why he's talked about as being a surefire Hall of Famer, some have argued he could be a first ballot Hall of Famer despite being a kicker. That's the part. Like, is what we're seeing that level is just no longer sustainable at this point in his life, that he can still be a quality NFL kicker, but that's too much to ask? Or how do we look at it? I don't know how to have this conversation.
Yeah, it's tough because even Tuck would say and has said for basically the duration of his career that he's not the one making the kicks. It's we're the ones making the kicks. And I think that explanation does apply when you consider his recent, poor run of form, because he has had kicks blocked. He has had he said after Sunday's game that he felt like his feet weren't underneath him, and part of the reason was because that whole operation felt rushed for the 44-yarder. So it is remarkable that I think it was a year ago. It was the game against Jacksonville, fourth quarter. It was the first time in 77 fourth quarter or overtime kicks for Tuck that he missed a clutch field goal, and since that miss. Or I guess including that miss, I think he's missed something like 4 of the past 13 after going 77 for 77. So that's worrisome, but, Potter finds its level eventually. Justin Tucker is the greatest kicker in NFL history. I don't think that there is any explanation for him suddenly losing, leg strength or accuracy or whatever. He's not spent any time on the injury list. I think it's just a situation where the Ravens need to put him in better spots where he's not kicking from 59 yards, where he's not having to rush onto the field, where he's not having, Charlie Kohler rush over from the right side of the line to the left side of the line because there's a breach and then someone going through like in that Cleveland game. So it's obviously not going to be a Pro Bowl type season for Justin Tucker. And, he is being paid to perform like a Pro Bowl kicker. And, he's under contract for several more years. And I think that's a smart investment because of what he's done. But yeah, you do have a bit of a pit in your stomach now when he lines up for these longer ones than you maybe wouldn't in previous years.
Is there anything else that stands out to you as again, the schedule stands out as concerning? It's very difficult, but I know that we just spent all this time talking about this. I would tell you that overall, I think the Ravens are in a really good place. I think that their defense is so good and their run game is so good, and the NFL is just a little bit different this year. That I think that travels and plays, and I don't know about you, Jonas. There's only been one game all season that going into the game I thought the Ravens were going to lose, and that was the game in Cincinnati, and they won it anyway, right? Like, it's a weird thing where I was having this conversation last night with some friends, and I'm like, hey, I know it's going to sound crazy to suggest that maybe they've disappointed to this point, but again, I going into each game, I thought they were going to lose one game all year. One. That's it. They're in a good place. I just think that the measurement now is against their ability to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and we talked on today's on our most recent podcast episode whether the Ravens are the best team in the AFC. Paul Mancano and I both think they are, but that doesn't matter because they currently, even though they're quote unquote atop the AFC, it's the Chiefs who have the inside track to get home field advantage. The Chiefs have the easier schedule, and the Ravens are going to go through a gauntlet. So that the Ravens, could end this year atop, all the DVO rankings, but still only be the third, maybe the fourth seed in the AFC, and that is going to suck for them if that just totally obliterates whatever margin for error they have in the playoffs. If you have to face a 5 seed in that wild card round and then go to Arrowhead in the divisional round. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of Ravens fans, complaining and moaning about how, this team deserved better. But, you kind of have to, sit in the bed that you made. And if this Ravens team is as good as we think they are, and if we think that, this team being healthy sets it up to go, 4-1 down the stretch, maybe even 5-0, then it probably won't matter what the Chiefs do. The Ravens will probably get that top seed. But, this team needs all the advantages it can create for itself in the playoffs because under John Harbaugh for the past decade, they just have not been able to make their kind of own luck.
That's fact. That's fact. Some people might say that sometimes that's because of John Harbaugh and maybe some questionable decisions about like replays and things like that, but we'll save that for another day. Jonas, when the banner is ready for us to do like the Fargo post episode podcast each week, like let me know, and I'm all in. We can start that. I was trying to come up with a clever name on the fly for it, but I don't have it yet. I didn't have enough time to think about it, but I'll work on that in the coming days. In the meantime, you want to go ahead and plug your podcast?
Yeah, sure. Not a Fargo podcast, not yet, but Banner Ravens podcast. Just the one episode this week with the bye week, but twice a week. Otherwise, post game, pre game, just half an hour, easy time for commute, and yeah, we have a really good time doing it.
Jonas_Shaffer on Twitter, of course, how you follow him. Always appreciate you, man. Thanks for doing this. We'll talk soon, all right?
Thanks, sir. Take care.
Jonas Shaffer with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time for us. All right, so we get to pull our first winner. We get to do this. I'd like to do it old school style, though. Like, I'd like to
write down everyone's name on a piece of paper.
Not names, just numbers.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to just write down. And the problem is they got to all be. We got to make sure we're doing it all on the up and up, right? If we do it that way, because in the past couple of years I've done the online spin the wheel thing, and it's fine and it's easy and we can do it that way. But I'd like if we did it the other way. So during the break,
print out a sheet or two or something.
Yeah, but I almost feel like we should just get evenly. How many pieces can you get? Can you fold a piece of paper and get evenly?
Well, there might be like a. Let me see.
I don't know how to do this. I don't know. All right, so it's 4, 5. I think you get 8 per sheet, so we need like enough to get. But I'd like to have 100 evenly sized pieces of paper, and let's mark them and pull out a winner. Can we do that?
Yeah, we're gonna have to sprint, but yeah.
Okay, so what?
All right.
I mean, I can write down some numbers too. You fold the papers. I don't want to, but I'll do it. Man, I'd like to pull the first winner today, and we might keep doing that because again, I don't know that everyone is actually going to claim the prize if they win it. So it could be a complicated day, right? Like we're gonna do everything on the up and up, but I might pull a number, say you're the winner, and then call that person or reach out to them and have them say, I'm good, go ahead and give it to somebody else. So this could take a while, but Griffin's not in the raffle. You're going to get into the bowl pick'em, right?
Of course.
All right, I'll give you a pass. So Griffin
I'm worried that's going to scare people away, though, because of...
Oh, because you're so dominant.
How good I
right?
am, yes. These bowls.
Griffin will observe the process. We are two neutral parties. I did not put myself in the raffle. I didn't even let Mrs. Clark get in the raffle this year because somebody noticed that last year and was like, huh. Because I post online everybody's numbers, so it's all on the up and up. So we are both neutral parties in this. So Griffin will observe the entire thing. We'll go through the process. We won't do it all on the air. We'll pull the first winner on the air. And then after that, it'll be off. Once I start calling people and figuring out who wants to win and who doesn't, we'll do the entire process off the air for pulling the winners of the helmet as well as the tickets. And it'll be your choice, right? So if I call somebody and say, hey, you won the first prize, and they don't want the helmet, they want, the tickets to the concert at Rams Head Live, then that's their choice. You're not going to be forced a prize upon you. If you only wanted the helmet and somebody else takes the helmet and I say, hey, do you want the free golf? And you're like, dude, I've never played golf in my life. Then fine, we'll give it to somebody else. That's the way we'll do this. But we'll do that during the break, and we'll pick a winner. Plus, we'll get a tidbit, and we'll get tubular as we wind down on a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Hey, Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Make sure you tuned in every Tuesday for PressBox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Kahn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
All right, we're not ready. We're still doing this. Here, tell everybody about Live Casino, and then I'll talk for a minute while you finish yours.
All right. So over at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, if you were a loser, unlike myself, I took Oakland over Detroit. Detroit is one of the worst basketball teams in college basketball this season. So, it looked like a bad spot for them because they were going in.
Your loved one has a gambling problem.
No, this is a good spot for them.
Go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
They just knocked off Xavier, so it looked like a letdown spot. But
did
Detroit,
Villanova lose again last night?
Yeah, Villanova did lose.
They lost
did you see Temple? Temple went to triple overtime with LaSalle in the Big Five Classic. And Big Five Classic might be working.
Apparently.
Yeah.
But now Villanova lost to both St. Joe's and Penn.
Correct.
In the Big Five.
Correct. So they're playing.
Does not bode well for Maryland, who got their brains beat in by Villanova.
So what, do they match up with Drexel now or something?
I guess.
I don't know how it works. I probably had that with Virginia just because Tony Bennett, he owns Buzz Williams, so they were playing Texas A&M in the ACC SEC Challenge. However, maybe if you picked Duke or something.
I was working last night at the Fan with Greg Watkins, who said to me, I was like, I don't have any action tonight, because I was just realizing how I didn't care about any of the ACC, SEC games. And he was like, oh, I'm actually a Carolina basketball fan, but I bet Tennessee. And I said, oh? He was like, yeah, Carolina doesn't have a physical big man.
That was the angle I was looking at too. And then I was thinking about the under in that game.
I think Carolina hit it by themselves in the first half.
Gosh.
But yes, Duke lost last night. America can rally around.
Exactly. Former Temple standout Caleb Battle taking him down almost by himself now at Arkansas. But if luck wasn't on your side, if you took Duke or you took Tennessee, over at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, they have the answer, because you can turn losses into winning opportunities with the Second Chance to Win promotion. Because between now and January 4th, 2024, so time's starting to wind out. We got just over about a month. It's about 5 weeks remaining. But over at the Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Live Casino, Hotel Maryland. Rewards members will be able to enter their losing bet slips into the second chance to win drum, and then 2 nights a week, 20 different winners will be chosen, with prizes ranging from live casino and Hotel Maryland apparel, sports and social, ultimate happy hour, plus cash and free play worth up to $500. Drawings will be held every Thursday and Monday over at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino in Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLE.
All right, I got through 48.
Okay, nice.
So I have 48 eighth-page sheets. I've also decided we're not doing the bowl. We're going to get a trash bag, and we're going to mix it all because I want you to, like, cartoonishly mix everything up in the trash bag, right? And then maybe after that we put them – no, we just pull them out of the trash bag. That's the way we're going to do it. Thank you for the bowl, Leah. I do appreciate that. But the bowl – not big enough for all these eighth of a page sheets. So I've got numbers 1 through 48. Griffin's going to finish numbers 49 through 100, and we will pull out the first winner. And again, the prizes that we have for everybody that got in on the raffle, we have this helmet over here that I don't have in front of me, and I was going to go get, but then nobody would be talking. It's just the awkward part. It's signed by a number of the current Ravens: Pat Ricard, Adafe Owe, Justin Matabike, Brandon Stevens, Tyus Bowser, Ben Cleveland, just to name a few. And more. And there's still more coming on that helmet, by the way.
I messed up big time.
What the hell?
I did quarter pages. Gonna adjust quickly.
It's ironic that Jonas Shaffer works for the Banner because we're having a banner day. Having just a banner day all around. You were trying to cheat for number 40. You really wanted number 49 to win. Give him a bigger page. That'll make it happen.
Not in the thing. I'm neutral, remember?
Yeah, you're
That's
neutral.
why I had to speak up.
Yeah, you had to make sure everything was on the up and up. Nailed it. Well, we're going to need about another 5 minutes. It's going to be another 5 minutes. Why don't we just go ahead and do this? I'll handle tubular while you work on that. All right, I'll cover what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. Tubular is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. Of course, Week 13 gets underway, as we mentioned earlier. Seahawks, Cowboys. I don't know why. Like I'm sure there's a reason why they decided that the week after Thanksgiving they needed to have 2 Thanksgiving teams play again on Thursday night. But I don't think I like it. In part because I feel like it's been the Cowboys all the time. Like, remember the year it was supposed to be Ravens-Cowboys during the pandemic, but the Ravens didn't play on Thanksgiving because they had it, and then they didn't play again until like the following. Remember, that was when they went Wednesday, Tuesday. They went Wednesday afternoon. The game that was supposed to be on Thanksgiving ended up being Wednesday afternoon against Pittsburgh, and then the game that was supposed to be the following Thursday night ended up being the following Tuesday night in Dallas. I don't know why they've decided they have to have 2 teams that played on Thanksgiving play again on Thursday Night Football the following week. But I think when you only get so many primetime games, it would just be nice to have some different teams involved, somebody else to watch. Like, I kind of roll my eyes about it being Seahawks-Cowboys, but that's tonight, 8:15 on Amazon Prime. UMBC Coppin State, 7 o'clock tonight over at the Physical Education Complex. That's on ESPN+. All Coppin home games moving forward will be on ESPN+. That's a good thing for them. The state high school football title games get underway tonight with the 2A final. Stephen Decatur from down on the Eastern Shore taking on Huntingtown. That's 7 o'clock tonight. In order to watch, unfortunately, the state title games anymore, NFHS Network, and I believe that's a subscription thing. It's a bummer that those aren't on television anymore. I have lots of thoughts about that, but I will save them for myself.
I think we got time.
No, I don't think we do. Well, because you're saying you're still that far behind on. Yeah. God, it's not going well. College hoops tonight, some of the highlights. The only Big Ten team in action, or on TV anyway. Minnesota's at home at 7 against New Orleans on Big Ten Network. Creighton, Oklahoma State at 9 on ESPN2. Florida Atlantic, suddenly the darling there, in action, 6 o'clock against Liberty on ESPNU. Everything else in college hoops, go to glennclarkradio.com. Capitals in Anaheim tonight to face the Ducks at 10 o'clock on Monumental Network. ESPN Plus and Hulu for Islanders Hurricanes at 7:30. NBA TV for Pacers Heat at 7:30. Clippers Warriors at 10 o'clock. Round 1 of the PGA's Hero World Challenge today at 1:30 on the Golf Channel. That is a big deal because Tiger Woods is playing golf this week. It's his event. He's playing golf this week. So Tiger Woods in action at the PGA Hero World Challenge starting at 1:30 on the Golf Channel. And Access TV for Impact Wrestling at 8. Are you capable of reading non-sports while you continue to write numbers on sheets of paper?
I think I can.
Well, I've got some questions myself.
Non-sports wise, today is Thursday. All right, so on Colbert, Barbara Streisand and Kelsey Grammer, of course.
Yes.
Great duo. It is the season 1 finale of The Golden Bachelor on ABC as well.
God, I never got started.
Selena and Chef. This is Selena Gomez of Home for the Holidays. She's doing like a cooking special. Well, she has a cooking show, but now it's a holiday special.
Sure.
With Selena Gomez on the
I
Food
do,
Network.
like, for what it's worth, I've never had a thought about Selena Gomez in my life until Only Murders.
Okay.
Like,
and
she did music, right? Like, her music never
She was on
resonated.
Wizards of Waverly
I never
Place
watched that show.
when I was a kid.
She was in the one, what was the one movie that,
I don't know. Was she in like
was
16? No.
Spring Breakers, right? She was in that,
Oh, yeah,
wasn't
yes,
she?
yeah,
That was a big one. But, like, Selena Gomez has been a blind spot for me entirely, basically, until Only Murders
Have
came
you
out.
seen the trailers for Family Switch yet? This is the Ed Helms and Jennifer Garner Freaky Friday Christmas edition.
You told me about it, but I don't think I've actually.
That comes out today on Netflix.
Okay.
It looks, I don't know. Who knows? Obliterated on this is also on Netflix. This one, it actually looks kind of good. It's still like a special force bomb squad. They deactivate a bomb. They're in Vegas and they save all of Las Vegas. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, we did it!" And they start partying because they're in Vegas. And then only about halfway through the night they realize that was a fake bomb.
Okay.
And so now they have to, like, while they're all drunk and inebriated, they have to figure out how to find the real bomb and then deactivate that one. So it looks, I don't know how it's because it's a series, so I'm not sure how it's going to work with them, like, going like episode to episode, even though this like typically seems like a movie sort of plot. So it looks interesting.
Okay.
I didn't recognize any of the cast, but it looks good. And then on HBO Max, this show called Bookie with Sebastian Maniscalco. Where they're bookies in California, where of course it's not legal, where like sports betting isn't legal.
Okay.
So yeah, it's supposed to be a comedy about him being a bookie essentially, and
So-
Charlie Sheen is in it.
All right, whatever. So I bumped into Johnny with the day that I was down at the Maryland football game for AJ Francis's food drive. I bumped into our friend Johnny Holiday on the way. When I was standing outside, he was coming in to go to work. And I had remembered that he was in Philadelphia the night before doing the Maryland-Villanova game. And I was like, geez, man, you're working hard. You're going from Friday night in Philly to Saturday morning in College Park. Like, that's a heck of a commute. And he said, you know what, Glenn? It's actually more than that. On Thursday night, I was in Atlantic City. And for those that don't know, Johnny is in his 80s. Like, Johnny is doing great, which I love. But Johnny is 86 years old. I said, you were in Atlantic City on Thursday night? He's like, yep, Atlantic City on Thursday night. Drove back, dropped my wife off at home, drove up to Philadelphia for the basketball game, and drove back here. And I said, what were you doing in Atlantic City? He said, I went to see Sebastian Maniscalco. I said, that's awesome, Johnny. That's so cool. So Johnny Holiday spent a Thursday night in Atlantic City, a Friday night in Philadelphia, and then was back for a noon kickoff. And, you know, when you're the play-by-play guy, you got to be there much earlier than noon. Was back Saturday morning in College Park. And I was like, that's so cool, man. 86 years old, getting it done. Johnny Holiday. I love that. All right, so that's tubular. We good?
We are good.
All right, go get a trash bag, please. So I've got numbers 1 through 48. You've got 49 through 100, correct?
Correct.
And they're all eighth of a page. We had a bit of an issue with that. We are going to pull out the winner. And again, this will be the first winner. And I will get in touch with that winner. And at that point, if that person claims the prize, then I will move on and pull out the next winner. We have, let me make sure I have this right. We have the helmet. We have 2 pairs of tickets for the Rolling with Santa party with Keaton Mitchell and Brandon Stevens. So that's 3. We have a pair of tickets to the Jingle Y'all concert at Rams Head Live. That's 4. We have 2 pairs of rounds of golf at Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses. So that's 6. And we have $75 in Glory Days gift cards. So we have 7 total prizes. There may be more than 7 names pulled ultimately, or numbers pulled, because we may have a winner that just says, go ahead, give it to somebody else. That has happened many times over the years. So that's the way this is going to go. I know I have had other winners in past years that we still have not been able to hook up and get them their prizes. I still have all of them. You can either come by and see us or figure that out in the coming weeks. But we'll make sure we get everything to everybody when they need them. Yeah, drop them all in, drop those all in. Then you got to, well, shake it up. You got to really shake it up. Well, put the other ones in there too. Don't just, yeah, butterfly them, if you will. And we got to really go crazy. I mean, I got to make it seem like this has been completely shaken and stirred and not just, had they really mixed up enough? Maybe the trash bag wasn't the way. Oh, no, they look good. Yeah. No, they look like they're moving around a little bit. It feels like there's still like a bulk of them that are kind of all in together. Yeah, I think the sound effect is great. I think we need the sound effect for what we're doing here. Should we pull them back out, put them in the bowl, and then put them back in again?
Yeah, that might work.
Like we've mixed them up as much as humanly possible in this process. All right, so Griffin's going to put them back in the bowl. And I know that, for example, some people specifically wanted one prize. Like some people were not as interested in the helmet as they were in being at the bowling party or being at the concert. So it could be interesting to see how this plays out over the course of the afternoon as we are pulling winners for our raffle. All right, Griffin, you should do this on camera so everybody can see it. We want to make sure everybody knows. Totally on the up and up. He is making sure that,
stuck together
yep,
here.
everything, we have them all individually. All right, and then we're going to do this. I can't keep dragging this out and trying to make it more interesting. It's just the way it goes. I'm doing play-by-play. And I appreciate that. That's the right thing to do. I'm not mad at you at all. Well, not about this. Other things, very mad. Infuriated, in fact. Griffin and I have to work together again today. Again.
It's going to be a long day.
It's going to be a hell of a long day. At some point, I might just need to go for a walk. Can't take it anymore with this guy. All right. So Griffin is still separating.
Back in the bag here.
Do you feel like they're good and separated?
I do.
Okay. So, yeah, I would say let's throw them back in the bag and maybe mix up the bag one more time and then pull some winners. Do you feel like we've done, as a neutral observer, do you feel, you know what? Bring Leah in here for a second. Because Leah's not a neutral observer. She got in, and I know she wants to win one of these prizes. So I want to make sure that Leah's comfortable with how Griffin has mixed up the numbers, all right? I want to make sure because this affects you. Are you comfortable with how Griffin has mixed up the numbers? He's mixed them up in the bag, then put them in the bowl, then he put them back in the bag, and he continues to shake up. Do you feel comfortable that the numbers are, oh, see, there's a few stuck together, but that's what we want. We want from this.
Might need one more round in the bowl.
One more round of the bowl is fine. We spent a lot of time. I'm just trying to end the show already. I'm just trying to get to the finish line on this. We're going to go back in the bowl.
Yes.
Back in the bowl. Make sure they're not stuck together. I wish we had one of those things they have for like throwing cash up in the air. Oh, yeah. Those are my favorite things in the world. They had that at the live casino and hotel. No, the thing, like you go in and it's like you're trying to pluck it down, right? Like that's my favorite thing in the world. There's nothing cooler than being in one of those machines. And you're just like, why can't I grab this? What is the deal? You feel like an idiot every time you go in one of those things. All right, Griffin is making sure they're completely separated. No two are stuck together because we want everything about this to be on the up and up. We want to make sure that no one can accuse us of rigging the contest. There are, however, some people. I will go ahead and I will divulge this information. One person got 10 entries in the contest. One person donated $250. Someone else went even further than that. One person, our friend Cotter, ended up purchasing 30 entries in the raffle. And as I said at the get-go, there was no limit because this is a charity thing. All I care about is that we get the money for the charity. So If one person wanted to put in $2,500, they could have guaranteed themselves all of the prizes. They didn't do that. So the other thing is there's no limit to how many times you can win. So that person that put in 30, if they win all the prizes, that's the reality. They won all the prizes. They put in 30. That's the way it's going to go in our raffle drawing, all right? But again, we'll pull one winner. I'll get in touch with them, make sure they want the prize, and then Griffin and I will continue this process off the air. And we're both neutral in this. So that's the way it's going to go. Again, after this, we're going to do the bowl pick'em. That's still to come, and we're going to ask you to chip in for that. And we're still going to do an event where we're going to ask you to bring out toiletries and obviously not your underwear, store-bought underwear.
All right, I believe we got Leah's blessing.
All right, very good. So this is the first winner that we are pulling out right now. And I have all of the numbers in front of me. So, very dramatic moment.
Here we go.
Yep.
Pulling a number out
We
here.
have
It is number 38.
number 38.
Number
38 belongs to someone who bought 5 tickets.
Ah,
in the
congratulations.
raffle. Congratulations to Chris Voxakis. We call him Verge because he looks like Steve Carell. And, of course, he was the 40-year-old version.
Oh, okay.
So we always called him Verge. Chris is a legend at the old radio station because he somehow got fired despite the fact that he never actually worked there.
Well done, Chris. That is
True
impressive.
story. Now he was like he would go to the Super Bowl, he would help us out, he would go pull guests for us, but he never actually worked for the old radio station. It was just because he was friends with Casey Willett and Ray Bachman and was just basically around all the time. One of my favorite people, always comes through for us every year. Our first winner is Chris Voxakis. So I will get in touch with Chris, and I will find out what Chris wants, and then we will repeat the steps. We just you heard how painful that was on air. We're not going to do this all day. We're going to do it off the air.
Just do a live read.
Could you imagine? This is all we did. We
all right,
just
it's been
let this-
15 minutes. Time
yeah,
for
right?
another.
Now I call Ken, like, hi, Chris. There's just no radio show going on whatsoever. But that's the deal. Chris Voxakis is the first winner, and then we will pull more throughout the course of the day. We'll get all the winners taken care of. We didn't do Tidbit. Let's go ahead and do Tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour, which is back tonight. Stan and Eric Garfield, Mr. Prospects himself. They'll be breaking down the Orioles. I think tonight they're focusing on the international prospects. Maybe guys that perhaps we haven't given enough attention to, that first wave of international players that are making their way through the Orioles pipeline. So that'll be tonight. Make sure I know what time that show is starting so I don't lie to you. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Stan the Fan Charles, Eric Garfield talking Orioles prospects at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is when you can watch that show. And if you miss it live, you can find it at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video.
Derrick Henry, over the weekend, he became the 8th player with 9,000 rushing yards and 80 rushing touchdowns in his first 8 seasons.
9,080
and
80 in the first 8 seasons.
And he is the 8th player to do this. Who does he join on this list?
Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders is, of course, on this list.
Walter Payton.
Walter Payton is not on this list.
What a bum.
Yeah, really.
How about Adrian Peterson?
Adrian Peterson is on this list. Tied for the fewest amount of games, 104. Derrick Henry took him 113.
How about LaDainian Tomlinson?
LaDainian Tomlinson is on this list.
Marshall Faulk.
Marshall Faulk is not on this list.
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson is not on this list.
Not a Jew.
Not a Jew.
How about Emmitt Smith?
Emmitt Smith is, of course, on this
He's the
list.
all-time leading rushing leader. I probably should have guessed him a little bit earlier. Jerome Bettis.
Jerome Bettis is not on the list.
Bum, he sucks.
Yeah, there you go.
Frank Gore.
Frank Gore is not on this list. Yeah.
How about Edgerrin James?
Not Edgerrin James. His son plays on Cincinnati, I believe.
Oh, really?
Jizzle James is his name.
Chisel.
Jizzle.
What?
Yes.
That doesn't seem good. That seems like a name that he would.
Were you watching any of the Howard game when Cincy was playing Howard?
I wasn't. I know they were trailing late, but they did hold on and win, right?
It's Cincinnati, yes, did hold on and win.
Yeah, but they were trailing late in the second half at Howard the other night.
Jizzle James.
Seems. Pause.
I think it's a great one.
Thurman Thomas.
Not Thurman Thomas.
Curtis Martin.
Not Curtis Martin.
Jesus Christ.
You've guessed 5, right? Or
I've gotten 4 right.
So Henry's
Plus,
5, yeah. So
Henry.
3 more.
Dorset.
No, not Dorset.
Oh, my God. Dickerson.
Eric Dickerson is on the list.
Thank God.
Yeah.
This is going poorly. Earl Campbell.
No Earl Campbell.
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown.
Okay.
He's on this list. The first to ever start this list.
And so I'm missing 1.
1 more.
Lenny Moore.
Not Lenny Moore.
Neat if it was.
Yeah.
John Riggins.
Not John Riggins.
Terrell Davis.
Not Terrell Davis either.
I'm not sure who it is.
Spent 8 seasons. He was drafted in the year 2000. And he spent 8 seasons with
Sean Alexander?
Sean Alexander,
Really?
yes, with the Seattle Seahawks, Sean Alexander.
He was a hell of a player, man.
Mm-hmm.
Was a league MVP.
Cover man.
Hell of a player. All right, very good. That will do it for us. Again, we will continue to pull winners as soon as we finish the show. Coming up, thanks today to Jonas Shaffer, Ken Zalis, Jeff Chadiha. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at Glenn Clark Radio. You know what I've realized is I took my headphones off, and so everything seems odd now because I don't hear it coming back, right? I'm like, am I doing a show?
Are we talking?
It's very, very bad. I should just put it back on.
And I realized I had you on mute the whole.
That'd be really awkward. Tomorrow on the program, Stan the Fan will be here.
Yes.
Bo Smolka.
Bo Smolka will join us.
Anthony Walker. Perry Hall Gator.
Hmm.
No longer at Miami. He's now at Indiana. I don't know how I missed that, and I'm not happy about it. Maryland plays Indiana on tomorrow night, so we will preview that with Anthony Walker ahead of time. Stuff and things.
Stuff and things, yes.
Very good. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Mother's North Grill, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Casa Sin, Superbook Sports, Hartford County, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Oh, don't forget, we'll be on 105.7 The Fan from 6 to 7:30 tonight. Go Coppin or UMBC. Duke sucks.